Hello there. What's going on, guys? I want to talk to you today about double broadsides in Armada, and I've also got a giveaway winner to announce at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned for that because we're going to announce the giveaway winner for the latest giveaway, which is a $25 Cool Stuff gift card for an expansion of your choice for any game. Doesn't even have to be Armada, so make sure you watch all the way to the end. So, Armada double broadside. So, what is double broadside arcs? So basically, if you're able to get close to another ship and you can actually get them in both broadsides at the same time, that's what I'm going to talk about today, because I think it's going to come back. It's been something that's very, very hard to do. Not something we can do a whole lot because you have to generally be really, really close, and it has to be only certain ships that really have the arcs that can support something like that. It works a little bit better with the Rebels because they have Admiral Akbar, and it's, it started with something called the Akbar Slash, where you would have, a ship on both sides of your ship, and you're able to, I'm going to take one of my shots here, get, only use my left and right, boom there, and then boom there. But every once in a while, some lucky players would get close enough to a ship where they had broadside on this side and on that side. It's not very, very likely, and it's kind of hard to pull off. But I believe that it's going to see a comeback once the Superstar Destroyers come out and we have these amazing new ships that we can broadside basically the same target from both sides at the same time. The big base, I think, is going to really help. And I've done a little bit of I've got a mock-up Bellador from Mel's Miniatures. I'm going to use this as in a couple examples and show you what I think will be available. And it's not exclusive to the Rebels because the Empire can do this a little bit too. It's going to be, I think, a more worthwhile thing. I think it's going to change some Rebel tactics a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the things that will be available. So let's take a look at the board. So for the example of what a double broadside is in Armada right now, I'm going to use a Star Destroyer, which is a large ship base. It's the biggest base we have that's currently available right now. And I'm going to basically use an assault frigate to kind of illustrate how difficult it can be to pull off. So assault frigates have much bigger firepower on their sides than they do on the front or rear. And so this is a ship that might want to do that. So I'm using a laser here. You can find it in any hobby store. And you'd have to get pretty close to the Star Destroyer. And even there, I just don't have it. So I'd have to be like lined up basically perfectly in the center and almost touching to just barely have a double broadside here. And the problem is it still has to, go dot to dot without going through his green line. So I still don't even have it there. So in order to basically have a double broadside here, I'd have to basically be like positioned almost exactly touching him, just like that. So barely have his front corner in both in arc and unobstructed, and then here I can just barely hit the side, and then we can go from dot to dot without crossing one of his lines, and then we could have it. But being able to arrive this close is really, really difficult, and it almost never happens because of the way, the movement tool is. If you were to bump, you have to go back to your next movement, and so a lot of times you'd be like, oh, well, now I don't. So with in a case like this, a lot of times what you would do is you would just go, double arc front and side. Now, this has become a bigger issue for the Rebels than it is for the Imperials, because the Rebels have Admiral Akbar, and with Akbar you have to say, all right, I'm only going to attack from my sides. And so if you were able to get a double side arc like that, then you could get bonus 2 extra red dice per side. So you could look at 4 extra red dice, maybe 5 if you have a concentrate fire. So it's a real advantage to be able to only shoot from your sides. Now, this is a little bit more possible on a ship like the Nebulon. Now, the Nebulon here has more of a narrow front arc, so the Nebulon can potentially get that a little bit closer. You don't have to be, it's a little bit more likely to get that because you still have to get really close. I've done it one time in my life. If I actually gotten a double Akbar shot, because I've run Akbar Nebulons a couple of times. It's a joke list for the most part because it's not very tournament effective, and it's not likely to really get a whole lot of double shots. It's actually really rare. But I think with larger bases, it's going to become more of an option. Now, for the Imperials, they have really only one ship that really can take advantage of this, and not even that much, because the Architans, if they have only a front and side shot, well, they're only missing out on 1 die, assuming that you're in range. So if you were about this close let's see how close you could be to actually have two shots that'd be going through. So you'd have to hit the side, maybe just like that. You go back a little bit. Yeah, that's so. It's doable. You know, you're still you know, about maybe 2 inches away, 1.5 inches away or so to potentially line it up. But it's very, very unlikely, and you're more likely just to have a front and side. It's very unlikely to have two side arc shots. I will sometimes like to run Architons with enhanced armament, increasing both of their side shots. The reason I'll do that is mostly because I'm expecting to get one big side shot, and then I want to reserve the right to do a front shot also, so I'm not a big fan of slaved turrets or, you know, things like that on the Architons as much. So if I'm running Vader, a lot of times I'll run enhanced armament, and I think, you know, larger bases will help here as well. So let's see how a Super Star Destroyer might look. All right, so this is the Bellator from Mel's Miniatures. I'm using 2 large ship bases. This is about a full length of regular 11 inches of regular printer paper. And I've just kind of printed a mock-up. Now, this is based off of the spoiler article that we've seen from the Super Star Destroyer. Although this may not be exact, I think this is a pretty close representation to what we're going to get. But I will say that based on my viewing and my photos of the Super Star Destroyer at Gen Con, I'm expecting it to be significantly larger than this. I believe it was probably at least a full ship's base in between these two. So I'm expecting probably at least 2 more inches. So what as big as this is, I would expect the actual one to be about, you know, this much farther or so. But still, this is just an idea to get us kind of part of the way there. So I'm going to turn this kind of a little bit sideways. And remember how close we had to be with the Super Star Destroyer to line up a shot. Let's go with an Architons. And we had to be about maybe an inch or 2. We had to be about that close. Well, that's no problem. We can go back much farther than that. And again, keep in mind, this is going to be much bigger. So let's say I want to go back to like medium range. Well, you know, I can hit the, you know, both side arcs, you know, the side and the auxiliary arc, no problem. Let's say I want to go back even further, and I'm going to push it to long range here, because let's see, that's going to be long range right there. I could, you know, I have a little bit of flexibility on exactly how long range would be, but see, I still have front arc. Still have front arc right there. Whoops. Here, let me do it this way. Easy, no problem. And then from this side, I have the rear arc, although I'm not sure where the dot is exactly going to be because I might not have the dot to dot. But again, I had a little bit of flexibility. So going as close as I can while still being at long range, I definitely have, you know, it'll be very easy to get. I said I can hit the auxiliary arc and the front. So I have a lot of flexibility on an Architons. So I think this is, you know, I think the Super Star Destroyers will actually be good for Architons, especially because I think Palpatine would be good there. So you might see a rise of double broadside Architons with, you know, with enhanced armament. And now, you know, you might need something else in there. Maybe you'll have, you know, a Simoon with, you know, with intensified firepower to give you some dice mitigation to make something like that work. But it's definitely an option. If you know that it won't be that hard for you to get 2 broadside shots, then you can kind of run something like that with confidence. I also want to take a look at another Imperial ship that I think could take advantage of it, Gladiators. You know, well, because hey, they have better broadsides than they do front sides, and if you can line it up, you wouldn't even have to run the Demolisher title. You know, you have the entirety of close range, so you have a lot of flexibility here. We could get like this far away and still easily, because now the Gladiator's arc is a little bit wider here. You know, they're not as narrow as some of the other ships, so it's a little bit more wider. So you have to, you know, you would have a hard time doing this with a regular ISD, because I don't even think you can manage it. But here we can do it quite easily, and we have. Because it's wide, we can't get that far away and still have the, you know, because we only have black dice. But like if we're coming up at an angle, for example, we have a lot of flexibility on just how far we can be angled and still have that, you know, 2 side arc shot. Well, there we go, about right there. So we have everywhere from here that we could be turning all the way to about there. So it won't be that hard to, especially if you have engine techs on a Gladiator. I don't even think you'd need to run Demolisher. I mean, you're probably going first anyway. So bring a couple of Gladiators swing them around, potentially to get to the rear of this thing, and maybe you'll use Insidious a little bit more. This could be the rise of the double broadside gladiators. Let's look at some Rebel ships. Let's take a Home 1, for example, or an MC-80 Home 1 style. Here's a ship that would love to be able to shoot out of both of its broadsides, because its broadsides are huge and so much better than its front and rear arcs. And with the lack of gunnery team, it really, really wants to be able to do this. But it almost never can. Even against an ISD, you just have to get so close. And like maybe, that's a big maybe. Even if you're about touching, you know, you might be able to get it. I don't even think you can do it if you're touching. It's practically impossible. Like maybe a certain, it's very, very specific angle, but I think you're going to be, it's virtually impossible to get a double broadside against another large ship. But against a huge ship like this, not going to be that hard at all. Not going to be that hard at all. Look how far away we can go and still have double arc. We got auxiliary. How far away are we? Are we out of, we're in medium range right there. At medium range, we have double broadsides to the auxiliary and the front. So, and that's where you want to be too. And of course, you can get closer and have all this, but you know, the idea is you want to be able to do it from as far away as you can, so you don't have to take quite so many dice, because this thing can hit you with quite a bit. Now, you never want to approach from the front if you can manage it. But with that, and it's going to be even larger than that. So you might even be able to get it from long range when we see the final model. Again, this is just there to give you an example, but that's insane. Let's take a look at an assault frigate. Assault frigate under Akbar is going to do so much too. And you even have more flexibility because the arc's a little bit more narrow because it's a smaller base ship. Again, we don't want to necessarily, we want to angle it a little bit so we can hit that. The problem is with this arc, you know, the rear arc, you're going to be going through this green line for a lot of those shots. So it's not as easy to line up that rear arc. But for the man, and I love the way, I mean, it is possible, especially if you're coming at it, if you're chasing it from behind, you'll definitely have that, you know, and then potentially have these as well. But you can get double arc from long range on this guy, I'm pretty sure. Let's see what we can manage here. Can we do that's about it right there. Oh, no, maybe we can't get double arc from long range on him, but we can get double arc from medium range. All right, so he can't quite get double arc from long range, but maybe on the final version he could. Now, the Nebulon, my favorite ship to be able to really take advantage of Akbar and the double side arc. I think this is going to make Nebulons great again. I really do, because when you're chasing down, first off, Nebulons can take engine attacks, so they can get some great maneuverability. They have pretty good clicks, so they can potentially try to line up that side shot fairly easy while keeping themselves at longer ranges. But look at this. Look at what we can do here. I've got a lot of flexibility here. Let's go this way. Yeah, we have a little bit of room to spare, and we're at long range. So at long range, we can get, you know, we can get those double arcs, and I even have a little bit of room. So here's the guy. He's most effective at long range, and medium range stops right there. Now, granted, this isn't perfectly accurate. I printed this out on paper and cut it with scissors, so it's just a mock-up, but it's here to give you a rough idea. And the other one's going to be bigger too, so we'll have a lot of flexibility. Here's a ship that can get double arcs at long range with no problem. Put enhanced armament on this thing and run Akbar. You've got so much dice coming out the sides. You're going to have 4 red dice, and then for 8 red dice, way better than the front of this thing. And those arcs, you can't get out of those arcs. Those arcs are gorgeous, gorgeous. Let's take a look at the capital ship Slayer itself right here. This guy. Now here, this is going to be something truly magnificent, because again, we've got pretty narrow front arcs, all right, you know, pretty narrow front lines on an MC-30. Now, MC-30s are probably one of the biggest threats to a Superstar Destroyer, I think, that you're likely to see. I think a great thing about the MC-30 is those black dice crits that it can get. And, you know, a lot of times what you tend to do is you have that front and side shot if you can manage it. But now we can make them even rolling more dice. And they have all the flexibility in the world here to be able to roll like almost any angle they can have. All you have to do is approach this thing from the side. You're going to get double side arc on it. 10 dice. 10 dice. You got some blues in there potentially if you're running the red version. But you've got blues in there. You can, if you're running Sato, you can run 10 black dice. No problem. With rerolls with Ordnance Experts. You don't even need the crits at that point. You're just rolling so many dice. Although I would keep some accuracies on there in case they want to, because there's a lot of defense tokens you may have to think about. Or you could just say, no, I'm not worried about the defense tokens. I'm just going to run you out of damage by just overwhelming you. But you might have that option. So the idea here is if you want to approach from the side, consider maybe, enhancing your broadsides a little bit more and trying to line up that double broadside shot, because if you can, first off, you're coming at it from the side, so you're out of the front arc. So that's where you want to be, especially if you can come at it from kind of this part with those closer range ships, whether it's a Gladiator or an MC-30 approach from this side. You can even be approaching at an angle, and it won't be that hard to line up close range on the other side as well. You've got a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room. So I think maybe the stars will be the Gladiators, because engine techs giving them that extra room could be magnificent. You wouldn't even need to demolish your title. It would open up room for other ships. You might even be able to, heck, maybe you'll take 7th Fleet on these guys. Although I think Insidious will be a real star for the Gladiators. So again, the final version is going to be even bigger than this. So all of those projected ships that can shoot at maybe medium range will probably get shots at long range. All of those ships that can shoot at long range are going to have even more flexibility when the final version comes out. I think that's going to be insanity. So that's all I got to say about the broadside thing. I think it's pretty cool, but we'll have to see. I mean, once the final production model comes out, we can actually test it out, in live play. It may be harder than it seems to line up those shots. I don't think it'll be that hard, though, considering that the Super Star Destroyer has to kind of go straight. So it's a little harder for it to move, but maybe not as hard depending on who, they have commanding. I think it's pretty cool. I do have a winner to announce, so I want to throw a big congratulations out to Douglas Hawks. You are the winner of a $25 Cool Stuff gift card. So go ahead and contact me on the back end of my channel. I'll get your contact info. We'll get you squared away. Thank you guys for entering. Big thanks to all my patrons out there on Patreon as well. I just had announced a winner for that yesterday, so make sure to check that out for the latest promo, for the Armada promo. And that's about it, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like my shirt, I do have a link for my TeePublic shop, and they're running a sale right now. So if you're looking to buy some new shirts, there's a sale site-wide, not just for my store, but for all of them. So, I bought several from there. I think they're actually pretty cool. But yeah, so check it out. Let me know which ship you are most excited to run some double broadsides with. And what do you think is going to be the most abused new mechanic once the Super Star Destroyers come out? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.